Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Tuesday, the 11th of November. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice intended whatsoever. It is purely to demonstrate how I try to read the market using technical analysis and my experience of 30 years trading it also. Let's start with what's going on in the US market, or what went down in the US market yesterday. We had a strong bounce in the many sectors, especially semiconductors. Here we have the SOX index, or SOX ICS Semiconductor ETF. Strong bounce here yesterday. And it was, of course, primarily driven by NVIDIA. Not of course, but because it hasn't been all the time, but this time it was. And NVIDIA was up about 5-6% yesterday. A strong bounce indeed, as we can see here. And it stayed above the 55 moving average, above the cloud. Bullish sentiment or positive sentiment seems to push higher. Also, solar, not new all-time high, but new highs here. And solar in general seems quite strong. Of course, they don't weigh much. But what really also pushed it higher was Tesla, and especially Amazon, very close to a new all-time. It was actually a new all-time high for Google, and also Amazon bounced quite strongly, but for Google or Alphabet C share, that's very close to all-time highs. So it seems very strong that Friday maybe was just a blip, and it seems like the US government is opening up again. Or the entire state and everything, the public sector. It seems like they have reached agreement, or very close to, in the House. The overall index here, we have a Nasdaq 100 also bounced strongly yesterday, closing more than 2% higher, back above this resistance that it was 25,136, back above this rising trend line. So a correction there. It seems like we could resume uptrend in general. Well, it hasn't really been cancelled. It was just put a little bit on the back burner with this correction. A strong bounce from this support and strong bounce from the 55 moving average. Positive sentiment on the other side, despite that there's some divergence. We could see it push higher in coming days and weeks unless something else happens. The S&P 500 index also stayed well above 6,550, tested 55 moving average and the rising trend line there, and a strong bounce at 1.6% higher. It closed, and pre-market, pre-market, we are a little bit lower here. We can see that the US future CFD is being rejected here at first at 61.8, retracement there at 25,622. The US 500 that has just bounced strongly. Then we can adjust that and say, okay, where did it go to? And it actually pushed above 61.8 retracement, very close to the 786, but it didn't get there. We need the RSI back above 60 threshold to further confirm that we are back in a bullish trend. The small caps also bounced, not as convincing, but still it bounced about 1%. We are above the cloud, we are above 55 moving average. So still slightly positive, but in the bigger picture it's actually a bit range bound here. So let's see what it can do here the next few days. Hang Seng index in Asia stayed above and closed a tad higher, above the cloud, above the resistance there, 26,560, and I think it will slowly crawl high. We actually have established a bullish trend here. So if RSI closes back above 60 threshold, will further confirm that. Further in Asia, we have the Nikkei a little bit lower, but still in this bouncing mode here, and I think will continue bouncing higher unless it takes out. And first of all, it needs to close below 50,000. That is could be a sign that the party is over, and especially if it takes out these spikes down here, well, then we could see a further selling pressure. But there's some support here at 48,450 and the 55 moving average coming up there. In European session yesterday, Also strong bar lifted by the positive wins from the US market. Still in a correction phase, but got back above 5,635 there, and I will move this down here. As long as we stay above that, then there's a good chance we'll push higher. Pre-market, we're a little bit back here. Of course, some profit taking is expected. 5,600 here. Let's see if they stayed above. Only dipping below. We had DAX that actually confirmed the bearish trend, and it's still in a bearish trend despite the bounce yesterday. We have a lower low there. Friday we had negative sentiment on the RSI, so that will be key here the next few days. Can it actually turn around? I mean, we are back above the cloud, but it's still a really fragile, and we can see it setting back a little bit, so it's still a little bit fragile there. On the FX market, we have your dollar that was in a bouncing mode, got up to the falling trend line and 61.8 retracement of this downtrend there. And if we're measuring from the entire trend up there, then there's really still a bit of way to go. So I prefer, when I do my Fibonacci levels, when it is such a, how can you say, messy or move here, when it's more like a straight line, it is much more straightforward and more clean to add Fibonacci, and it works, in my experience, a little bit better. We could see it setting back unless it takes out the falling trend line and the spike up there at 115.90. Then I think we could get up to 116.25, maybe even up to these area here around 116.70, 80 level, but that's a very strong resistance indeed. It could, I think, will slide back and resume downtrend. Sterling dollar, or cable as it's called, rejected there at the 38.2 retracement, just below 132, and I think it will resume downtrend. You can see how it slides back slowly this morning here, and I think we could see it take out 130. Well, not tomorrow, not the day after. Let's see about that. However, if it takes out to the bullish side, the spike up yesterday, then there's room to 132.40, maybe even up to around 133. But I think we will slide back here and challenge the 130 down there. Euro sterling started the day out with a strong move here. Early session pushing higher, reached the 61.8 of this little downtrend there. And it seems like we are into continuing the bullish trend that is already in session. I think, as we talked about, 88.50, 89, eventually in a few weeks' time. Yen pairs, you see dollar yen again challenging this 154.40 here. Strong resistance, really needs to push above 154.80 to really push higher and to get out of this strong resistance there. As long as it stays above 152.80, I think it will continue to do that. So that's a really strong, not strong, but it's fairly strong uptrend. And let's see if we have a little bit of a rising trend line going on there. Maybe even a rising wedge. Let's see about that. Could also be that picture playing out, so keep an eye on it. If it takes out this support there, well, then we could see a massive sell-off. But for now, the bullish trend is still intact despite divergence on the RSI. Euro yen also pushing higher, currently above the 786 retracement. I think it will push higher, and I also think it will challenge and take out these peaks here with a move up towards 180. RSI back above 60 threshold, despite the fact that we have some divergence. But if RSI crawls back above, say, the falling trend line, then I think we will see 180 coming into play. Aussie yen, well, 100 spot 70, the 786 retracement here, hovering around that at the moment. Rejected at first. Well, they did spike a little bit, but rejected, it seems. RSI also rejected at 60 threshold, despite the fact that we do have some positive sentiment, but there is also divergence. As you can see, RSI declining, market move higher, so a little bit stressed. But if it takes out the peak here, then expect a move up above 102, and also it's likely to be confirmed by the RSI back above 60 threshold. The sterling yen, in the bigger picture, it is actually in a downtrend, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. What will it do here? Will it slide back or will it push higher? The underlying sentiment as such is bullish, as we can see 55 coming up to 100 and also above the cloud. Our side, however, got rejected there at the falling trend line. It needs to get back above 60 threshold to establish a bullish trend. If it can't do that, then we could see it sliding lower once again and making maybe a new lows there. So that will be key to watch the next few days. Aussie dollar bounced 50% of this sell-off there, and also around the 100 moving average. Still could get up to the 61.8 retracement and 55 moving average, just around the 65.55 there. And then we have some stronger resistance. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, as we can see. We were below 40 threshold there some time ago, about 3 weeks ago. So the underlying sentiment is negative, but it hasn't been really confirmed by a sell-off in Aussie dollar. So let's see, there's some strong supports down here, 64.50, 64.40. Dollar Canada set back to around 50% of this last leg up there. Could still, if it takes out the lows from yesterday, then we're looking 139.84 to 61.8, maybe even all the way down to the 786 retracement and the 200 moving average and 55 coming up there. That's a fairly strong support indeed here. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating we are likely to see higher levels on dollar Canada, and I think we will do it eventually. So if you see dollar Canada, and let's just add, if we would like to do that, there we are. It should be over here. There we are. So let me just move it a little bit so it's easier to see. On the left I have same color, sorry about that. But I think if we see it taking out 140, 50, 60 area up here, then I think we will see a bounce crawling higher towards 141, possibly higher. We are still in bullish trend, and then it should move higher, but correction phase. Sterling Canada, on the other hand, this range bound here got rejected at the 38.2 retracement, here at 185.50 and sitting back, and I think we will see it resuming downtrend, taking out these lows here, given the fact that we do have some negative sentiment. We have the moving averages above here, they are both declining, the 55 excuse me, and the 100 both declining. So we should slide lower here in the coming weeks. It's just pausing a little bit in this corrective sideways range trading there. Swiss franc, Euro Swiss, massive spike yesterday. Seems to be resuming downtrend. You can see that the RSI got rejected at 60 threshold, currently below the rising trend line there. And I think it will slowly slide lower here towards 92.5, 92, these lows down here. Let's move that one. Basically, what we can do is we can add a few horizontal lines to it to see where there are some interesting. This is the key support, 92.55, around that. I think we'll get there. If it takes out that, then downtrend is likely to be confirmed. Dollar Swiss, also sitting back, sliding back here. I think it will resume uptrend eventually, could sit back to the 80 level at the 61.8, where you also have the upper part of cloud. We have the 100 moving average also giving some support, and there's positive sentiment on the RSI. We could see it dipping down there, but eventually I think it will bounce and continue its bullish trend. Dollar index, Bouncing from the support here at 99.29. If it takes out the lows there at 99.26, then we could see it lower towards 99, possibly 98.73. But also here, bullish trend is intact despite the fact that it got rejected there at the 200 moving average and formed the top and reversal-like pattern. I think it will turn around and push higher. Positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI is supporting that scenario to play out. Strong bounce in gold, very strong indeed. We have taken back 50% of that sell-off scenario we saw there, re-establishing a bullish trend. RSI currently, as we speak, just a tad over 60 threshold. I think if we take out 41.62 here, then it will continue higher to 42.75, and we have established a little bit higher high there, a little bit higher low, and a higher high. So we will get back in. It's not a certain, of course, and it's not a buy recommendation in any means. Still positive sentiment, and it could be reconfirmed if it closes back above 60 threshold. Silver reached the $51 a target that I had talked about, and we have established a bullish trend, higher, low, higher. Rejected here, but RSI back above 60 threshold, confirming that we are on a bullish trend. I think we'll push higher here in the coming days and weeks to at least the 52.56, the 786 retracement there, and then also higher in the coming weeks to follow. Platinum. Moving on to platinum, also trying to catch up here a little bit, and I think it will push back towards 1650, 1662. If it takes out that, then the bullish trend has been confirmed, but also still positive sentiment, never close below 40 threshold, likely to push higher. Copper is trying to catch up, had a fairly good day yesterday in the bouncing mode. If it moves back above the cloud, then I think we will see it also more buyers coming in, and this peak up here could be challenged here around 526, 528. The overall picture is we are in a positive sentiment, but it's just basically this range trading correction going on at the moment, and the underlying bullish trend is supported by 55 moving average crossing over the 200. They're both rising, so we actually have a very strong signal there that we should on the medium terms push higher on copper. Also not good for the consumers that copper is being or the industry, and that copper is being more expensive. Moving on to the energy market and crude oil, WTI crude oil. Still, I think will slide lower here in the coming days and weeks. We have been talking about that. Still negative sentiment, but there are buyers still holding on. But we are see lower lows, lower highs there. Brent crude oil, same picture really. So if it takes out these spikes down there, then we could see the sell-off accelerating. European nat gas dipping lower. And has broken this rising trend line there. Next is 30.73 euros. Then we have a confirmed downtrend. We are already in negative sentiment, coming all the way back from there. We never got back above 60 threshold, so I think we will slide low. We can also see moving averages pushing lower, so that is indicating European nat gas is to set lower. US nat gas is stalling, and let's just have the weekly chart also showing it's stalling up there. It reached almost, it actually reached 450, and then it got knocked back down. So we are talking about this level just around here. So around 450 got knocked back down. So maybe is that now a short-term peak? One could hope, especially if you are a consumer of US nat gas. And let's see here. Let's just add that. There are some support levels around. So let's see. We can also measure it from here because that's a more straight line, despite the fact that this is. I think it's better from here. So in a correction mode, possibly, but if it takes out 450, then we are looking at $5. Moving on to the yields market, well, we have basically sideways here between 416, 417 and 405, but 420 is the strong one on the US 10-year Treasury yields. In the European interest rates market, we had the EU 10 spiking higher yesterday to 270 and got knocked down. So I think we will see it sliding back here the next few days, and we can actually add also that to it, possibly down to around 263. UK bounced yesterday but got knocked down from the 450 and is trading lower today. So still good for them that they are still depressed or pressed down there. Japanese 10 still in this bullish trend here, but pausing a little bit, hasn't gotten back above and made a new all-time. Let's see if we can do that, or it will be knocked back down a little bit also. Finally, on the crypto, we saw a bounce that got rejected there at 107,270, just around just below the 55% retracement, so setting back a little bit. Negative sentiment, we'll still see it sliding back a little bit. It needs to take out this for a move up to around 113, 112.6, 113,000 here on Bitcoin. Ethereum, also a strong bounce, 50% took it back and then got rejected, it seems, and we could slide back here towards 33.50, possibly a little bit lower. We are still in a bearish trend, as we can see, a negative sentiment supporting that picture. If it takes out the peak up for yesterday, I expect to move to 3,800, possibly up to 4,000, but I'm not so sure about that. The scenario will play out. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Talk to you again tomorrow.